Lust is often treated as though it were simply another word for sexual desire, but that can leave people suspicious of their bodies, ashamed of attraction, or convinced that faithfulness means becoming a person who no longer has strong desires. The truth is that desire is part of being human. We desire food, friendship, beauty, justice, rest, intimacy, significance, and love. Desire draws us toward things we perceive as good. The problem isn't that we desire. The problem is that our desires can become disordered, so we don't always recognize what's truly good, what's ours to receive, or how a good thing should be enjoyed. Lust reduces a person to a body for our consumption. Chastity teaches us to desire without devouring. Hi, I'm Chris Hallett. Welcome to the Flourishing Life channel. Today we're exploring lust and chastity. This is part 3 of our series, Vice to Virtue, the 7 Deadly Sins and the Flourishing Life. Each deadly sin presents a counterfeit vision of the good life. Greed tells us that possessing makes us more secure. Pride tells us that placing ourselves at the center makes us important. Lust tells us that sexual gratification gives us intimacy without requiring vulnerability and the responsibility of love. Lust promises pleasure without commitment, intimacy without being known, and union without self-giving. It may provide a brief moment of pleasure, but pleasure isn't the same thing as intimacy. It may create excitement, but excitement isn't the same thing as love. Lust promises fulfillment, yet it leaves desire more restless than before. So, what is lust? Well, lust is more than noticing another person is attractive. Attraction can arise before we've made any conscious decision. We see beauty, our attention is drawn, and our bodies may respond. That first experience isn't identical to lust. The biblical story of creation describes the trees of the garden as desirable to the sight and good for food. The fact that something appears desirable is not in and of itself the problem. There is a difference, however, between seeing something as desirable and deciding that it's therefore good for us to take. Desire says, "This is beautiful." Lust says, "This should be mine." Desire notices, lust claims. Desire experiences attraction. Lust turns attraction into an imagined right of possession. It no longer sees the other as a whole person created in the image of God. It reduces that person to a body, an image, a fantasy, or a source of gratification. Lust asks, "What can this person provide for me?" Love asks, "Who is this person as God sees them, and how can I seek their true good?" Jesus addresses lust in the Sermon on the Mount when he discusses looking at another person lustfully. Look up Matthew 5:27 through 30. He's not saying that we sin whenever we recognize physical beauty. He is describing a way of looking that seeks to possess another person in the imagination. Instead of seeing a neighbor, we see a body. Instead of seeing a person with relationships, hopes, and a future, we see an image that can be used for our pleasure. Pornography didn't invent lust, but modern technology has industrialized it. Bodies can be searched, selected, consumed, and discarded almost instantly. Repeated use trains us to carry that consuming gaze into ordinary relationships. We may begin evaluating people according to their bodies, comparing real spouses with manufactured images, or imagining that every attractive person exists as a possibility for our gratification. Lust doesn't merely affect what we do in private, it changes how we see. One of the great problems with lust is that it makes a finite pleasure for an ultimate good. Ecclesiastes 1:8 says that the eye is never satisfied with seeing. There's always another image, another fantasy, another experience, another possibility. This helps explain why lust so easily becomes a cycle. It promises satisfaction, but trains the appetite to demand novelty. The desire is gratified, but it doesn't come to rest. It soon returns, often wanting something different or more intense. Lust doesn't satisfy desire so much as tutor desire in dissatisfaction. Sometimes what appears to be sexual desire is connected to something beneath it. We may be longing to feel wanted, seeking escape from anxiety, or craving comfort, affirmation, excitement, or relief from loneliness. We may think we're craving a body when we're really longing for tenderness, security, belonging, or assurance that we matter. This is why we need to interrogate our desires. What am I actually seeking? What do I believe this experience will give me? Will it bring genuine satisfaction, or will it simply renew the craving? When we ask a body, a sexual experience, or another person to give us what only communion with God can ultimately provide, desire becomes disordered. Lust damages our relationships with God, ourselves, and others. It distorts our relationship with God because it treats our appetites as authoritative. We assume that because something is desirable, it must therefore be good for us to take. But some things may be desirable without being ours to possess. God's boundaries aren't given because He opposes our joy. No, boundaries protect the conditions in which love, trust, faithfulness, and intimacy can flourish. Lust also divides our public and private lives, creates secrecy, and produces shame. Yet even though we can't control every desire that first appears, we still have influence over what those desires become. The things we repeatedly watch, imagine, and pursue shape and strengthen the desires we will experience in the future. Lust also turns other people into objects of comparison, conquest, or consumption. Even within marriage, lust can reduce a spouse to someone who exists to satisfy my needs. Marriage doesn't turn another person into property. A spouse remains a person to be heard, honored, and loved. Disordered desire makes the heart sick when it can't possess. When it does seize what it desires, it makes the community sick through betrayal, exploitation, broken trust, and discarded relationships. The contrary virtue to lust is chastity. Chastity is often misunderstood as another word for celibacy or repression, but it's a virtue for everyone, whether you're married or unmarried. Chastity is the integration of sexual desire within a life ordered by love. It doesn't deny the goodness of the body or require us to pretend that we never experience attraction. It teaches us to see another person truthfully. The unmarried person practices chastity by refraining from sexual union while learn to love others without possessing them. The married person practices chastity through fidelity, tenderness, patience, and the refusal to use even a spouse as an object. Chastity doesn't destroy desire, it shapes desire. It asks not only, what do I want, but also, what is good, truthful, faithful, and loving. The opposite of lust isn't numbness, it's the ability to desire another person's true good. The clearest contrast between lust and love is found in Jesus Christ. Lust says, your body is for me. Christ says, this is my body given for you. Lust takes, love gives. Lust treats another person as an instrument for the satisfaction of the self. Christ offers himself for the healing and salvation of others. This is why Christian sexual ethics can't be reduced to a list of prohibitions. At the center is cruciform love. Love honors the freedom and dignity of the other. Love refuses manipulation. Love keeps promises. Love doesn't insist upon its own way. Look up 1 Corinthians 13. Love seeks communion rather than consumption. In Jesus, the Word becomes flesh, revealing both the goodness of the body and the body's purpose. The body isn't an instrument for domination, exploitation, or consumption. The body is for love. Chastity is formed through habits that reshape our attention and desires. We begin by guarding what we repeatedly place before our eyes, because the images we consume don't merely entertain us, they train us. Chastity teaches us to refuse to nurture fantasies that turn real people into imaginary objects. We practice confession because secrecy gives lust room to grow. We cultivate friendships that aren't based on sexual possibility, learning to value people for who they are rather than what they might provide. We practice fasting because it teaches the body that desire doesn't have to become command. We practice prayer because desire is healed not only by saying no to what is destructive, but by learning to say yes to what is truly good. Gratitude teaches us to receive the people and gifts already present in our lives. Lust offers a diminished vision of sexuality because it diminishes the person. It reduces the body to an object and desire to an appetite that must be satisfied. But we were made for more than consumption. We were made for communion. Sexual desire, on the other hand, isn't our enemy. It's part of our embodied humanity. Like every powerful desire, however, it must be directed toward what is good and shaped by love. We may not control the first movement of attraction, but we can learn where we place our attention, whether we nurture a fantasy, and how we see the person before us. Chastity doesn't make us less alive. It frees us from the exhausting cycle of seeing, craving, consuming, and craving again. It teaches us to receive beauty without grasping, to experience attraction without claiming ownership, and to love another person without turning that person into a means to our satisfaction. Lust reduces a person to a body for consumption. Chastity teaches us to desire without devouring. And when desire is ordered by the love of God and neighbor, it becomes part of a flourishing life. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it, and subscribe to the Flourishing Life channel. And join us next week. We're going to continue our series, Vice to Virtue, the 7 Deadly Sins in the Flourishing Life.